Look, as capital managers, our job isn't to fall in love with the product. It's to find massive asymmetries in the market before everyone else does. So today, we're going to break down our highest conviction investment thesis for this cycle. We're talking about an opportunity so compelling, it justifies a major slice of our portfolio. We're talking about Take-Two Interactive. And this one idea, it's the key to our entire analysis. Right now, the story that Wall Street is telling itself is just fundamentally wrong. They're obsessed with a snapshot in time, a single, really unflattering photo. We, on the other hand, are looking at the entire feature film, and believe me, it is a blockbuster. So what is this photo that has so many investors spooked? Well, it's a picture of a company with, temporarily depressed margins. It's a balance sheet that's heavy with debt from a pretty strategic acquisition of Zynga. And it's a company that's right in the middle of the most expensive R&D cycle in the history of entertainment. And this right here, this just perfectly shows you the market's short-sightedness. We're only looking at the before state of the company, a free cash flow yield of just 3.2%. To the average analyst, this screams inefficiency, it screams stagnant returns. This is the photo they just can't seem to see past. But now, let's roll the film. Because the real story isn't about the last 5 years of spending, it's all about the next 3 years of harvesting. You see, the confirmed launch of Grand Theft Auto 6, well, that isn't just another product release. No, this is a predictable, culture-defining, and frankly, inevitable financial event. What you've got to understand here is the sheer scale of the anticipation. We were talking about a product with 12 years of pent-up global consumer demand. That's an eternity in the entertainment world. This isn't just hoping for some new tech to catch on. This is basically a social contract with hundreds of millions of fans around the world who are just waiting to spend their money. And that demand, it translates into sales figures that are just unheard of. Projections are pointing to over 25 million units sold in the first 24 hours. Now, to put that into perspective for you, the last one, GTA V, was a global phenomenon, and it still took 3 whole days to hit its first $1 billion back in 2013. We fully expect that record to be absolutely shattered on day one. And this is where the numbers just get staggering. Net bookings, which is really just the key number in gaming, it's the net amount of stuff sold, both digital and physical, they're projected to surge to over $9.5 billion in the peak online cycle. That's nearly double the company's entire current scale. This isn't just growth, it's a fundamental re-rating of the whole business. So how does all of this actually hit the balance sheet? Well, we are about to see a classic J-curve effect in action. It's a financial quantum leap, moving from a period of heavy investment straight into an absolutely explosive harvest cycle. And here you go. Now you see the full picture. The movie. This shift from that red investment phase to the green harvest cycle is, well, it's dramatic. And this isn't us speculating. It's just the inevitable financial result when the biggest development cycle for the world's most anticipated entertainment product finally comes to an end. For us, the metric that matters most, really the only one that truly matters, is free cash flow. And this chart says it all. You can see the explosion. It's projected to multiply by more than 6 times in just 2 years, from $550 million to nearly $3.5 billion. And why is that? Simple. The massive development costs, they're already spent. They're sunk. Every dollar that comes in from the new GTA Online ecosystem drops almost directly to the bottom line. So what does this explosion in cash get you? It gets you a projected free cash flow yield of 16.8% at today's prices. Let me be really clear about this. For a software company of this size and this quality, a yield this high is, well, it's practically unheard of. It means the intrinsic value is so far above the current stock price. I mean, any reasonable cash flow model you run points to a massive mispricing by the market. To use a technical term, the stock is just laughably cheap. But wait, there's another huge factor here that the market is completely ignoring: the incredible leverage they're getting from generative AI. Rockstar is using AI to procedurally create its gigantic environments and for hyper-realistic character behaviors. What this does is it lets them build a massive, complex world without the costs just exploding. It allows them to keep their capital spending stable while pushing your operating margins way up towards a target of 35%. Okay, so as an investor, you're always asking yourself one question: what's the opportunity cost? The question isn't just, is Take-Two a good investment? It's, is it the best place to put our capital right now? So let's stack it up against some of the other so-called deals you hear about in the market today. Let's break this down because it's absolutely critical. You look at Intel, you're buying a hope, a 3 to 5 year turnaround story where your capital is just trapped. Roku, you're jumping into a brutal margin war with tech giants, and there's no clear reason why the stock should re-rate higher. Palantir, a great company, sure, but a lot of its future AI success is already baked into those high multiples. But with Take-Two, you're buying a guaranteed imminent catalyst. It's about temporal certainty, not just long-term speculation.
Now, no credible thesis is complete without looking at the risks. So let's be honest about the downside. There are really 3 key risks we've modeled. First is execution risk. Any delay to that release window is going to defer that massive cash flow, and frankly, it's going to test everyone's patience. Second, monetization risk. The new GTA Online has to be innovative to keep people spending, and you've always got the threat of new regulations on in-game purchases hanging over the whole sector. And finally, budget risk. Yes, AI helps, but this is still the most expensive entertainment product ever made. Further cost overruns could definitely eat into those peak margins. We believe these risks are manageable and are more than priced in at the current levels.
So, after weighing all the data, the huge asymmetry, the opportunity cost, and of course, the risks, we come to our investment committee's final verdict. And this isn't just an idea. This is an actionable strategy with a very clear plan for execution. So our verdict is simple and it's unequivocal. Overweight. This is our highest conviction call. We are recommending a significant portfolio allocation to capture what we believe is going to be a violent re-rating of the stock by the market. And we're not talking about a small position here. For a moderately aggressive portfolio, we are justifying an allocation of up to 25%. Now, why so high? Because the asymmetry here is just massive. The downside risk, like we talked about, is pretty limited by the immense value of Rockstar's IP. But the upside, it's a discrete, exponential jump in free cash flow. And look, when you take a position this big, you have to be a professional about it. You need a clear, non-emotional exit plan. This is a medium-term, catalyst-driven play. It's not a buy-and-hold forever situation. So, step 1, we position capital now during the relative quiet before the marketing storm hits. Step 2, we hold right through that confirmed release in late 2026. And step 3, we begin to take profits in a staggered way throughout 2027 as those record-breaking sales numbers get reported and the market euphoria hits its peak. So, it all just comes back to this one idea. The market is staring at a blurry, out-of-focus snapshot of debt and investment. But the full-length feature film is about to premiere, and it's going to reveal a cash flow machine unlike anything this industry has ever seen. The only question left is, while the market is busy focusing on the photo, are you prepared to invest in the movie? You know, there's a silent revolution happening right now. It's not out in the streets, it's happening inside our video games. And thanks to a whole series of incredible patents filed by some of the biggest names in gaming, we're getting a mind-blowing sneak peek into the future. And let me tell you, what they're building is so much more than just a game. So let me just start by asking you this. What if all those digital people filling these massive game worlds weren't just puppets on a string? What if they were actual individuals with their own minds? It sounds like something straight out of science fiction, I know. But thanks to this revolution in AI, it's becoming our reality, and fast. All right, to really wrap our heads around this, let's do something fun. Let's build our own digital human, piece by piece, starting with the most important part of all, the mind. This is all about how these characters are going to understand and navigate the world around them. So check this out. For years, game characters, or NPCs, have basically been on rails. They followed this simple, invisible, connect-the-dots map, walking from point A to point B. They had no idea if a car was blocking their path or if it was pouring rain. But the new way? It's a total game changer. These new characters can analyze everything, traffic, weather, random accidents, and make smart, logical decisions in real time. So how do they pull this off? Well, they're giving them a 2-level brain. The global level is kind of like your GPS app. It sees the whole city map, it knows about traffic jams and accidents, and it plans the best overall route. But the local level, that's the driver. It's got its hands on the wheel, dealing with what's right in front of it. And if a truck suddenly swerves into its lane, it reacts instantly and yells back to the global brain, "Hey, change of plans, we need a new route, now." And this incredible system, it applies to every single character in the world. Okay, so our digital person can think. That's huge. But it's only half the battle, right? Now we need to give them a body that moves and reacts to the world just as believably as their mind does. And that brings us to this amazing concept called virtual locomotion. This is a patented system that basically throws the entire old rulebook on animation right out the window. This is all about building movements from scratch, right in the moment, based on a ton of different factors. Think about it. In pretty much every game you've ever played, each character has the exact same walk animation, the same run animation, the same way of falling down. They're like actors just repeating the same pre-recorded line over and over no matter what's happening. It looks fine, I guess, but it doesn't really feel alive. But this new way, oh man, it turns them into improvisers. Instead of a fixed script, the game gives them these tiny little Lego blocks of movement. It doesn't tell a character how to walk. It says, hey look, it's raining, you're feeling tired, and you're walking on a slippery cobblestone street. Now, figure out how you should move. So how does it all connect? Well, the patent calls it a blackboard. You can think of it like a shared brain that every single character can read from. It's constantly being updated with all this data about the world. So if it starts raining and a character is tired, the system grabs the tired walk Legos, some I need to keep my balance Legos, and some it's wet and I'm cautious Legos, and it snaps them together to create a completely unique, natural-looking animation that has literally never existed before. We have a mind and a body. So what's next? Well, we have to place our digital human into a world that is just as dynamic and responsive as they are. And this is where we get into simulating life itself. And that world is built on some absolutely incredible technologies. We're talking about jaw-droppingly realistic fluid simulations for things like rain and sweat, actual living social media networks inside the game, and even the ability to create unique building interiors on the fly. Let's just focus on the fluids for a second. Here's the problem. To make rain run down a character's face realistically, a computer has to do thousands of physics calculations a second for every single droplet. Your game console would, and I mean this, it would literally melt. The game would be completely unplayable. So here's the absolutely genius solution they came up with. Instead of doing all that crazy math on the complex 3D model, the game lays an invisible 2D sheet over the character, kind of like wrapping them in plastic, and does all the physics calculations on that simple, flat surface. Then it just projects the result back onto the 3D model. So when your character is running in the heat, the sweat will actually pool and run down their back realistically. This isn't just a visual trick, it's a real physics simulation happening in real time. A mind, a body, a living world. There is just one thing missing to make our digital human truly, truly believable: a soul. And in the language of artificial intelligence, a soul is memory. The ability to remember and to learn from what happens. And this, right here, might be the most profound change of them all. Characters in the game will now have persistent memory. And I don't mean some simple good guy/bad guy meter. I mean, your specific actions will have real, lasting consequences with the people you interact with. So what does that actually mean? It means if you commit a crime, witnesses won't just forget about you a minute later. They will remember your face, your clothes, the car you were driving. If you pick a fight with some random guy on the street, he might hold a grudge and come looking for you days later. And in a world with smartphones, you could go viral on the game's social media, and suddenly everyone in the entire city recognizes you. This completely overhauls things like the police system. Gone is that supernatural radar where cops instantly know exactly where you are and what you did. Now, they have to rely on what witnesses actually see and tell them. They'll show up, investigate the scene, and build a description of you based on those reports. It forces you to think completely differently. Your digital identity, for the first time ever, will actually matter. So when you put all of these pieces together, the mind, the body, the world, and now the soul, what do you actually have? You start to realize this isn't just about making the next big video game. This is about creating the most complex, believable simulation of life we have ever seen. And that leads to this incredibly powerful idea. The very same artificial intelligence that is making these virtual worlds so real is also transforming our own world, how we work, how we communicate, everything. Maybe what we're seeing here isn't just the future of entertainment. Maybe it's a mirror. Which leaves us with one final and kinda heavy question. As these simulations become almost indistinguishable from our own lives, filled with digital people who think and feel and remember, where exactly does their world end and where does ours begin?